StrikeBack Episode 8. Now, in this episode, we got a lot of different things. Stonebridge has been cured. Unfortunately, Kumali has shown his, allegiance in the saddest way possible. And Leonov has escaped with the virus, and we also got, a little bit more backstory on Locke's inside woman and how she's actually connected to Ulyanov because he killed her father. The beginning of this episode, it started off great. The guys are split up. Stonebridge has been captured. He's with Anderson in the car, and he's still suffering from the neurotoxin. Anderson ends up getting infected with this virus, which is revealed to be like a mutated smallpox virus. So it's not just smallpox; it's like super smallpox. And Stonebridge has to find his way out of the facility, which of course he can't do. So he does find the doctor, and he calls 20, and they get his location, so they go rescue him. And things start off fairly simple, good episode, good comedy between Scott and the woman. They have obviously they have a connection, and which is obviously shown at the end of the episode when they sleep with each other. But they have their funny moments, but they also connect through Ulyanov and how she really wants to kill him because he killed her father for being an honest man, as she put it, which I really liked. I just thought that was a really good line. And her father was killed by Ulyanov because he was an honest guy. But after that, once they find Scott, they go and rescue him, and it's a typical mission. They kill a ton of people. They solve the problem, but the way it happens is because Kumali sacrifices himself to try and get the virus, which unfortunately he does fail at. But he tries to get the virus, and he does end up saving Stonebridge. And at the end of the episode, when he's killed off, there's a really powerful scene because Scott, who's normally just like the devil may care attitude type of guy, he's really affected by this. And he was affected in the earlier scene when Kumali goes to talk to his daughter, because he knows, or at least he really feels, that he won't make it out of the mission. And we see that he doesn't. And of course he tells his daughter, everything's fine, I'll be home soon, and things will be great. And Scott's in the background, and he feels the exact same thing that Kumali feels. And he has a connection to Kumali's daughter. They kind of have the same type of attitude, so they really get along. So he cares about her. And when Kumali dies, Scott like tears up, and he says, what am I going to tell that kid? And I thought that was a really great scene, and it was just it was really powerful, and it was sad, but it was good at the same time, just because just the power and the acting in that scene, and just everything that led up to it. Kumali, Kumali and Locke's conversation pretty much like symbolizes how I felt through like this whole season so far about Kumali. What is he doing? Is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? He does good things, but at the same time, he let Rachel die. So that's still in my head. Like, I feel like he redeemed himself, but not completely, because he still let Rachel die. Like, no matter what he said, if you saw the episode, he walked through the building slowly, and he let her get killed, and he was shot in the arm. And it could be possible that that was at a time when he still felt, I'm gonna, try to play both sides or something like that. But, the fact of the matter is he let that happen to her. So even though he did try to save, Stonebridge in the end of this episode, and he did ultimately sacrifice his life, I still just can't feel like he's completely redeemed himself just as a good guy. But he's obviously, proved that he does have, he has a heart. He did try to save Stonebridge. He knew that, going in there and doing what he did, like flat out, pointing a gun, to the scientist and everyone in that room would, out him as a bad guy, or I guess a good guy, in our case. But, just some of the things he done, mainly him letting Rachel die, it's still kind of it's still in my head, so it's not like I can just ignore what he did. But that's kind of the thing about black and white, and gray. which, I think was kind of signified in this episode with, you know, Juliet and Martinez when they're in the car, and they talk about, last week's episode and how um, Juliet basically, you know, she told Martinez, hold your position, and then that woman was killed, and Juliet has this. She has this look sometimes where, I was thinking in this episode, it's like sometimes she just kind of looks like she's Terminator. Like she just like flips it and she'll just like kill whoever and just get the job done. And in this scene, it's always when she has those glasses on too. And in this scene, she kind of had that look while she was speaking to Martinez. And, she says, things aren't just black and white. And Martinez says, I understand gray. And then, at the end of the conversation, of course I don't remember it verbatim, but, Julia says something and then Martinez says, is this where you're supposed to tell me, we live in a complicated world? And then Julia says, or maybe a really simple one. And I thought that was just a great line. And it, kind of connects, with Kumali dying, like I said, it's not just black and white, it is gray. And, it was fairly simple. He did what he felt was right in every moment. And, he says it, after his conversation with his daughter when he's speaking to Scott, he says, like, I have to tell you that I'm the one who told Al-Zahari you two were there, or Ulyanov that you two were there. And, Scott says, hey, we're just all pieces on the board. And I just thought that was a really great scene. But it shows, Kamali, he kind of went up and down in this slope, but in the end, he knew he had to help these people. And more than anything, he had to, help, everyone, because helping everyone would help his daughter, who he does actually care a lot about, even if he didn't really care about, Rachel or anyone, that he worked with, throughout the series. He obviously cared about his daughter, and that's why he knew he had to stop Al-Zuhari. And unfortunately, he's not able to do that, and so he's killed at the end of this episode. So, however things play out, this is going to be, really big, mostly for Scott because of his connection to Kumali's daughter. And it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, where he's trying to kind of be there for her, as a good guy. But, he can't, because that's just not really him. And of course, he can't, like, just up and leave. I mean, he could, really, but, he won't just up and leave to go kind of help her out, because, she kind of has no one now when you think about it. When they've shown her, it was really just her, Kumali, and then, like, their maid. So it's just her and her maid now. And, Scott's going to want to help her out, but he won't really be able to do as much as he wants to, because you can't just, help someone when they lose a family member, especially when it's a parent. So it's going to be interesting to see how that, how Kamali's death plays out and actually affects the team. But, on a brighter note, since there are some bright notes, Stonebridge, like I said, he has been cured, so we will get to see him back in action, in fighting form. And then next episode, I believe, based off of the preview, they're doing their regular over-the-top stuff. And so, on the plus side, he wasn't killed, which, of course, he wouldn't be killed, but he also isn't handicapped in any way anymore. So they will be back to, just like the A-team action, where they're just killing people left and right, headshots and this and that, and, they'll be in good, or really great fighting form as a team now, Scott and Stonebridge. And, the woman who, locks inside a woman who, of course, with me not remembering names, can't remember hers, but she seems like she'll play a pretty big role now. Like, she's kind of come into the fold, and she might not be, in every episode, she might not be a recurring, well, she'll be a recurring character for sure, but, she might not become a main character, which I would really love to see, because I think she's a really good character, and like her and Scott have great chemistry. They're really, both really sarcastic people, so they kind of fit perfectly together, which is kind of why they end up together at the end of the episode, because they like each other, and that's just the way it goes on that show. So hopefully she does kind of come into the series more. And something that was really interesting is that like, we were almost there where Scott was gonna call, his ex-girlfriend and, check up on her and the baby, well, who probably isn't a baby anymore, but his kid. and right when he was about to, that's when she comes in. So, they're still pushing that off more and more just to kind of tease us viewers. But I'm definitely excited for that because he's obviously, now that they're out of the prison and out of that crazy situation, he has the free time to do it, and we'll just have to, it'll probably be an episode or two, maybe even three more, because I'm sure he'll go through wanting to call her and he'll go back and forth, and every time he's about to, something else crazy is going to happen that stops him. But whenever that does happen, it's going to be, I think it's going to be amazing just to see how that plays out, because it could really lead to him ultimately leaving 20, which I'm sure would cause, Stonebridge to leave too, even though he's not infected with the neurotoxin. He's just going to want to get out anyway. Like they talked about even before he was actually, really feeling all the problems. So I'm excited to see where the story really goes now that, Kumali sacrificed himself, and, Scott has to deal with, more, like even more crap than just him trying to figure out how does he correct his wrongs from his past. How does he kind of, help Kumali's daughter have a good future. So I'm curious to see where that goes, and I'm excited, as always, for the series to just, like blow my mind with some insane action and some really great drama too. So comment below, let me know what you thought of this episode. I guess the big thing for this, with Kumali dying, where do you stand as far as him being good or bad? Because like I said, I feel like he almost completely redeemed himself, but with that scene, him letting Rachel die, that's still in my head, and it always will be, no matter what, because there's nothing that could really change the fact that he let her die. So comment below and let me know, where does he stand on your scale? Good, bad, kind of has to be somewhere in between as far as I'm concerned. But obviously, let me know, and thanks for watching.